Good afternoon. We are here for another Ovadia Heart Health Telemedicine live stream. And today I have the great honor to be joined by Herr, who's got a lot of information that a lot of our audience is going to be really interested to hear. My name is Chris Cornell. I'm a certified health coach and host of today's edition of Ovadia Heart Health Telemedicine live stream. Have you ever found yourself coming home from a trip feeling completely wiped out, like your body and brain are still somewhere on a different time zone? Maybe it's not even the flight itself, but the constant disruption, the late nights, early mornings, long days in hotels and airports, meals grabbed on the go at convenience stores, in airport shops. If any of that sounds familiar, today's guest, Herr, the founder and CEO of FlyKitt, a company built around a simple but powerful mission to make it easy to stay healthy and feel great when you travel. Before founding FlyKitt, Andrew led human performance efforts for the U.S. military, where he worked on everything from advanced research and development strategy to getting warfighters, including Navy SEALs and fighter pilots, mission ready. The discoveries from that research directly power FlyKitt's technology today. Andrew has been recognized twice as a mad scientist by the U.S. Army. He serves as an adjunct assistant professor at Georgetown University, and he's been featured in Wall Street Journal, Wired, Forbes, and Fortune, among others. Welcome, Andrew. Before we get going, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to tell our audience. I have to just put up a disclaimer. We do this before all of our live streams. Any of the information and anything that we discuss today on this call is not medical advice. It's for informational and educational purposes only, and not a substitute for professional advice or treatment by a licensed healthcare professional. If you want to reach out to someone at Ovadia Heart Health, you can do that by emailing us at team@ifixhearts.com, and someone will be happy to get back to you. So with that out of the way, Andrew, tell us, let's see, let me get this off the screen before we start. And Andrew, to start us off, could you share a bit about how your time working with Navy SEALs and fighter pilots shaped your understanding of human performance and led to where you are today?
Sure. So, one thing that's really neat about working with people who are operating at the very edge of what's possible for a human is they notice when things work. And so it was a really cool kind of a environment to learn in, because you could, also the military itself is pretty bad at testing certain kinds of health stuff. The individual warfighters are very interested in testing health stuff. And so I was, I did a bunch of stuff in a formal capacity with the military, but I also did a bunch of stuff in a very informal capacity where I got connected to a unit and people were like, hey, what can you do for me? And so I got to really work with guys to see what we could do. And, while these are people whose bodies really can handle a lot of beating, it's quite remarkable. They also are taking a lot of beating, and so they need to recover fast. And so, my particular interest in inflammation, amongst other areas, was really, really valuable, because inflammation and the way our immune system operates is a core part of recovery. And so I'd say those are just two pieces of what working with those communities. But also, I guess I'll add a third one. You have to think about everything. These people are carrying huge physical loads with needing incredible endurance, with like incredible cognitive acuity and sharpness, and no sleep. So really, to think about their challenges, you have to think pretty holistically. And so I guess that really is something that becomes important and has, led to stuff I've done with jet lag and other pieces of this.
Now, I assume that the work that you do and the product that you've built, or the products that you've built, are going to appeal to a wide group of people, far beyond fighter jet pilots and so forth. But I will tell you that at Ovadia Heart Health, which we are a fast-growing telemedicine practice headed by founder Dr. Philip Ovadia, a cardiothoracic surgeon, and we have a medical team and we have health coaches. Among our patients are a surprisingly large number of pilots. And I know that even for those who aren't pilots, a lot of our patients are also people in the business world that do a lot of travel across multiple time zones, and it's a real problem that manifests itself in a whole bunch of different areas of metabolic health. And so anything that you want to add about that and what you've learned is going to be directly applicable to so many people that are going to be listening today.
Thanks. Basically the core insight that started all of this work was that, or that really, I should say, stands behind all this work, is that the pressure changes in flight and the lower oxygen environment cause inflammation in the body. Now, basically, when you take off, it's like climbing an 8,000-foot mountain in 15 minutes. Now, obviously, you didn't do the physical work with your legs to climb that mountain, but the physiologic change, because of the pressure change in flight, they don't pressurize an airplane cabin to sea level. They pressurize it to about 8,000 feet relative. That means you're breathing about 26% less oxygen. And that and the rapidity of that pressure change, causes effects that have a relationship to decompression sickness and also to altitude sickness. And so it's no surprise that when you talk to most people, even if you get off a short flight, let alone one with jet lag, they're going to tell you they just typically don't feel as good, lower energy, maybe brain fog, bloating, gut issues, many people's legs will swell. All of these things in our experience are downstream of oxidative stress and inflammation. And the research is quite clear that when you throw on the circadian component and jet lag, that it actually affects your metabolic health quite dramatically in the long term. Insulin sensitivity, all these factors that are really core blood sugar effects. And so, what we've seen is most people will just want to push through, and they'll attribute it to, the stress of travel, and that's definitely a component. But this physiologic effect that we really discovered and pioneered in understanding the role of inflammation really speaks to also one of the reasons it's so challenging in travel, and one of the reasons that on average, despite pilots being quite high performers, on average, they do have a lower lifespan, and we believe that's related.
So before, I know I really want to hear about the products that you're offering, but before we even get to that, what are some of the things that your everyday person who's facing some of these issues what are some of the levers that they can pull to mitigate the problems?
So basically what you want to do is you want to set your body up to have as little inflammation as possible, and to have sort of as little propensity to this effect hurting your body as possible. So what does that mean? Anything you can do before you fly to keep your blood sugar under control. So we recommend, as part of the FlyKitt program, but also just in general, lower carbohydrate, higher protein meals, plenty of vegetables. Those vegetables have polyphenol compounds in them. And those polyphenols activate your cells' natural protective enzyme systems that then cause them to be more protected. If you can work out before you get on a plane, I know logistically that's not that easy. That's great. If you can work out after you get on the plane, exercise, especially cardio exercise. Obviously, resistance training, weights are great too, but in particular, cardio exercise tends to suck inflammation out of the system, as does sauna. We love sauna if you can get in before or after the plane. And then getting the right amount of sleep. So it turns out that you can get too little sleep when you travel. That's obvious. I think we've all been sleep deprived and trying to push hard, whether we're on vacation or whether we're traveling for work. But too much on a plane can set you up for not sleeping the next night and having really bad jet lag. And so one of the things that's really important, for example, if you go to Tokyo and you slept a full night, you might wake up at 3 p.m. in Tokyo, and I guarantee you're not getting in bed that night. So getting the right amount of sleep at the right times is also absolutely critical, because the first order negative effect of not getting sleep is inflammatory.
You just made me think of something. Are there any characteristics or lifestyles that people that do a lot of traveling can set themselves up for that are going to mitigate these effects over the long term, like being in better shape, doing things within their life that they can do even during the times when they're not on the road?
Sure. So it's not just the acute or the like immediate ability to keep inflammation low, but there are things that we do, throughout our life that then make our body more or less susceptible to inflammation. So most people experience jet lag getting worse as they get older, because where most people are more susceptible to inflammation as we get older for a variety of reasons. Some of it is the age, some of it's that most people tend to be in a little bit worse health when they get older. But things you can do to keep your body physiologically young, we can't turn the actual clock back, but we can say physiologically young. And so that would be, having extremely good metabolic health and high insulin sensitivity, low systemic inflammation, especially the chronic kind. These are people who are lean, they're working out a lot, they're sleeping really well, and kind of having all of these things we think of as generally healthy for life, but they're also going to set you up to feel great when you travel. Now, there is one piece one thing you can do when you travel that would not be every day. You can fast when you travel. A lot of people get inflammation due to issues with their gut, and not eating itself means there's nothing in there to kind of cause issues. And when you fast, it tends to lower the activity of your immune system. But the sort of cost of fasting can be, if we don't have fuel for our brain and we get hangry when we're traveling and it's stressful and you're hangry, those two things together can cause problems. So we tend to recommend to people to eat while they're traveling, but just make sure you be smart about kind of the foods you're eating and keep them low inflammatory.
Oh, great advice. I want you to give us an overview of FlyKitt and FlyKitt Foodie. Before we do that, though, I would love to hear maybe one of the highlights of your work with the military. Is there any particular thing that you worked on at any point that's particularly memorable that just gives our audience an idea of what some of the kind of work you were doing with them?
I mean, the strategic work is fun in that it has really big scope and scale. And so I did some work, for example, on what the physiology of leadership is. How do different leaders and leadership styles affect the physiology of their subordinates, and what might we learn from that about elite leadership and elite teams? And that's fascinating. But honestly, I have to tell you, the stuff that really comes up when you ask that question is, how did I help this individual or that individual? Because the human connection is so important. And I can just think of somebody who he was a SEAL, he was injured, and they want to get back at it as quickly as they can. And I think after a pretty serious leg injury, he PR'd, set a personal record on a marathon, I think 8 weeks later. And I was really happy to help his body recover faster. And, look, these people have a magic ability to recover, so I'm not going to claim all that, but I definitely gave him some tools to use, and that kind of stuff where, hearing a fighter pilot come down from a training mission that's a particular type of mission that leaves them usually just drained, even so drained that sometimes you're supposed to give a briefing after the mission to, about how it went, just they could barely get through it. And, having working through the symptoms, working through the physiology, and having someone come down and be like, I've never felt this clear-headed before after a flight like that. So, those kind of one-on-one experiences are really the ones that stand out for me. But the big strategic stuff is fun too.
Oh, that's incredible. And I think, the team at Ovadia Heart Health feels the same way about our patients, including pilots that have had their medical, their ability to fly because of their medical situation.
Medically retired or something like that.
In some cases, people in the prime of their career having to stop flying until they can get their health under control. And we've seen some incredible transformations and the feeling, you can just see it in the eyes of the patient when they get their medical clearance back and they're able to resume the career that's supporting their family and the things that are important to them in life. And it's just magic. So this is a good lead into tell us about FlyKitt. I think it's if I'm mistaken, just correct me, but you've got FlyKitt and FlyKitt Foodie. Is that correct?
Yeah. So our goal, I just talked to you about all these different strategies, and you can sauna and you can work out before you go. And then there's this types of eating, but like this gets complicated at some point. And so what we've tried to do, and I think we've done well with FlyKitt, is give you a comprehensive approach, take all the guesswork out to eliminate jet lag. And so what do we do? Well, in addition to everything I talked about that helps you kind of keep inflammation low, there are supplements that help too. And so we give you 4 different supplements in this kit that we sell, a FlyKitt, hence the name. And 2 of them are going to help keep your inflammation low. So we're using a mixture of polyphenols, those compounds that help activate your natural protective systems from organic pomegranate. And then we're using vitamin C because this particular physiologic effect, vitamin C, is helpful at blocking. And then we're using a highly concentrated 1-to-1 EPA DHA, a sort of very specifically concentrated omega-3 fatty acid that is also going to provide your body with the precursors to decrease inflammation. Your body uses omega-3 fatty acids to make the compounds that decrease inflammation or keep it low. So we're going to give you these, and the algorithm is going to take into account your flights and a couple of questions about your body and your sleep schedule. So it's going to be truly custom. Chris, if you and I are on the same flight, we'd have a different program. And then we're going to bring to bear all the tools that'll shift your circadian rhythm. Because what we found is once you keep the inflammation low and manage that piece, suddenly you can flip someone's circadian rhythm overnight. So what does that mean? We're going to use light. We give you blue light blocking glasses in the kit that you're going to wear at specific times. We're going to use supplements. Methylated B vitamins can actually increase the sensitivity of your circadian system. We're going to use magnesium glycinate to calm your body and gut, and then a low dose of melatonin as a timing signal to your brain when you need to start moving towards sleep and shift your circadian rhythm backwards. And then we have what we call a circadian reset, which violates all the rules I've just described, because we're actually going to intentionally give you sugar, which seems like the worst thing we would ever want to do. But the reason we do it is because insulin, which is normally we want to keep super low, is actually a signal to your body to reset some circadian clocks, especially peripherally, your liver, your gut. And so the only worst thing than giving you a little bit of sugar at a specific time is having your circadian rhythm totally messed up, which will mess up your metabolic health for actually can be up to weeks. Your metabolic health can be worse after long distance travel. So we give you this circadian reset. It's a drink mix it with coffee. And then 1 hour later, we're giving you more of the anti-inflammatory supplements to help manage any effects from having just consumed sugar. So you can see it's a really kind of finely orchestrated plan that if you had to do it yourself, and the first plans we ever did, I wrote out by hand, and I can assure you it was kind of a complicated thing. But now we have an app that just walks you through everything, gives you a little notification anytime you need to do anything. And it's super simple to do. And we see about 93% of people can go anywhere in the world, Europe, Asia, Australia, with minimal to no jet lag at this point. And we ran a study with Inter Miami, the professional soccer team, where Messi plays last year. And the players who used FlyKitt versus the players who did nothing saw 94% fewer travel symptoms on a big trip.
Wow. So you mentioned that there's some customization to this plan or this program. What would be the difference between, say, what could account for differences between my kit and your kit?
So, for example, what time do you normally wake up in the morning? Some people might be a little later, more night owl people, and wake up at 8:30. Some people might be getting up at 6:30. That's a 2-hour difference. We can't possibly give you the same plan because if you're shifting that could add 2 hours to your time change or reduce it by 2 hours. What time do you want to wake up and sleep at your destination? Are you going to, maybe we're both flying to Madrid, but then one of us is going to Ibiza and going to stay out till 2 a.m. and one person's going to work and go at business meetings in Madrid. That's a very different program because suddenly one person's staying up late. We're going to ask you about caffeine sensitivity because if you drink a lot of caffeine, we need to take that into account versus if you don't drink very much at all. We're going to ask you if you do a ketogenic diet because, that affects things like sugar and others that we're talking about. And then we figured out how to ask you a little bit about your physiology in ways that are easy to answer. So we're going to ask you, for example, if you get less than 6 hours of sleep for one night, how much does it affect you? Because people who aren't that affected by one night of less than 6 hours or don't feel it as much we're going to be able to give different sleep parameters to them than somebody who's really affected, who we want to make sure we support their body in a different way. So it's a big push and pull, and thankfully the algorithms we've developed can customize for any flights to anywhere in the world in a very short amount of time. And so that's how we're able to do this now custom for everyone.
Now, the best place for people to learn about FlyKitt is at flykitt.com.
That's it, flykitt.com, 2 T's, FLYKITT.com. And then, you can follow us on Instagram at FlyKitt_travel. And then if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at Andrew Herr, HERR bio. No spaces, no underscores, no dashes.
Okay, that's fascinating. Now, when somebody utilizes FlyKitt, do they need an app, or is that just for the foodie, or explain that?
So you download the FlyKitt app and for Android and iOS, and you answer these questions, and it gives you the custom plan. And that's really nice because it's going to give you those notifications throughout your trip and take you through. And the really nice thing is you don't have to do anything before the morning you leave. So, there's some jet lag programs where they try to get you to change your sleep schedule for 4 or 5 days before, but most people I know are very busy before they leave on a trip. And so changing your sleep schedule and going to bed at 7 p.m. probably isn't feasible. But we've done another thing to try to make life as easy as possible when you travel. And that's what you reference with this FlyKitt Foodie program. So once we arrive, we don't want to throw away taking care of our health and feeling great. And so one of the challenges, though, when we travel is how to find healthy food.
Hey, Andrew, before you go on, I want to tell you how hard it is for some of our patients when they travel. It is the biggest challenge that they have, and including pilots who sometimes, especially on the international flights, are not allowed to bring certain foods with them. So they can't just have a bag of beef jerky sitting there going across, certain borders and stuff like that. So finding foods when they're traveling, when they want them, when they need them, because you got a bad schedule, you may have to be at a certain place at a certain time, maybe certain things aren't open or whatever. So I am very interested in hearing all about FlyKitt Foodie.
100%. And so, I used to run a coaching program, and one of our clients' biggest challenges was keeping when their routine is broken on the road. And so what we've done is we've built an AI system that goes and reads the menus at restaurants, either near your hotel, in an airport you're transiting through on a layover, near where you can set the destination anywhere. And it will find you not only the healthiest restaurants in the area, but it reads down to the individual dish level. And it can even make recommendations. Hey, if you want a little bit less sugar, you can ask for this with less sauce. It understands commercial food preparation, and it works anywhere in the world because it reads different languages. So it's a really fantastic way to say, okay, and you can set it for what your preferred diet is. There's different people will go with different diets, and if you and I disagree, that's not the point. The point is I want you to be able to do what's working for your body. And so if you're looking for low inflammatory, for low carb, for vegetarian, there are these different options, and you can select what it means, even food sensitivities, to eat healthily for you, and it will find you that anywhere in the world, in which we found is really helpful. And I'd say I've done a lot of this. I tend to really be focused on what I eat when I travel, and it's as good or better than I am. And I've been doing this for a long time, so that to me is my endorsement of it.
So the word FlyKitt, where FlyKitt.com for the app to reduce the problems associated with circadian rhythm and all the things you talked about before. That's definitely geared for people that are changing time zones. The FlyKitt Foodie seems like it would be just as applicable to anybody that wasn't traveling as it would be is that right? I could use that to find food when I just drive an hour south of me to New York City, and if I want to find some good foods, can I use FlyKitt to find them?
100%. So yeah, the full functionality you can find through our website, flykitt.com. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll even use it to find new places in my own city because if I'm across town for a meeting and I'm not going to be eating at home, absolutely, it works well anywhere in the world. Means near or far from home. So 100%, it's a neat tool for kind of everyday and special use.
So we probably have a large percentage of low carb, ketogenic, carnivore type of diet followers listening to this live stream, although we may well have lots of other diets represented. Tell me a little bit about what would I do using your app, since we don't have a way to illustrate it here. Can you describe, how I would find a good low carb diet with no added sugar, no seed oils, and no refined carbs for a meal tonight?
Yeah, so you're going to go onto the FlyKitt Foodie app, and all of those are pre-available as settings. No seed oils is in there, low carb is in there, and you can even pick your preferred protein. You can tell it you like seafood, don't like seafood, eat pork, don't eat pork, want beef. So you can really, you can even tell it you prefer a certain type of cuisine, but that's going to restrict things a little more if you only eat Italian food or something. But by putting in these preferences, let's call them, by putting in your profile, if you want low carb, it's going to find you places that are, for example, offer, let's say, you might, under that, you're going to see places with steaks. You're going to see places that do like charcoal grilled skewers. You're going to see places that have all of that available. And so all those are preset. You just click a few buttons. I want low carb. I eat these proteins. I don't like these proteins. No seed oils. And the cool thing is we've also trained this AI to understand commercial food prep, which means it has a pretty good idea where the hidden sugars are and things like that. And we'll even recommend, hey, this is an 85 out of 100, but if you ask for it with no sauce, it'd be a 93 out of 100. And so it can give you those kind of recommendations. And it takes about 10 minutes to run, but in 10 minutes, you'll have a map of the entire area with just the best options. And with some updates that we're pushing live now, I think that might get down to 2-3 minutes. So click it, go to the restroom, come back, and you're going to be able to find these great low carb options. And it'll give you veggie options, meaning like places that have great protein and great veggie. And so you can, you may want those together. And that can be, kind of a home run meal for you.
What's been the biggest challenge with FlyKitt Foodie for you, and how long has it taken you to get to the point that you're at? Obviously, you've done a lot of things in your career. This is a natural flow from some of the things you learned earlier. But what has this been like from a challenging perspective?
From a technology standpoint, a lot of the challenge has been taken away by the fact that our chief technology officer is an absolute genius. So Clayton, our chief technology officer, built this system. And the good thing is, because he is a guy really into health and really into diet, he, in a way, built it for himself, but that allows us to really serve anybody. And so, the goal now is to really get this out to more people. And I think the challenge is, it's really just finding the right ways to talk about such a neat product, because it can, like you said, it can be relative to travel, but in some ways there's even more applicability to your day-to-day life.
So what kind of response have you been getting from people that are using either of these two services that you're offering?
Well, I'll tell you, the feedback we get constantly from FlyKitt users for jet lag is, I was kind of skeptical, but I figured I'd buy it anyways, and now I'll never travel without it. And then they tell us about how good they felt on their trip. And, some of those people are telling us how good they felt on their business trip. And other people are saying, oh my gosh, I felt so good. It was this vacation I've been saving up for a long time. So we even see people change their habits. So we see people who now go to the Middle East for business meetings and only stay for 2 days. They used to stay for a week to be able to sort of recover and have the meetings and come back. And now they treat it almost like they're going to Chicago, because they feel so good there and back. And I love that, because it means they get to spend more time with their family. It means they are just wasting less time in their life feeling crappy.
Let's see. I would love to get some ideas about what you think, being that you're so immersed with AI. What do you think AI is going to do in this space over the coming 5 years, 10 years? What do you think? Where do you think this is all going?
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that it brings the bottom up. What do I mean by that? Somebody like Dr. Ovadia, I'm sure, is a top 0.1% in the world kind of intellect and knowledge about his field. But I'll be totally transparent. In my experience, and this applies to physical therapists, is where I first developed this frame, probably, mental therapists, doctors, others. The bottom 25% make you worse. The middle 50% probably do nothing net, and only in the top 25% do they make you better. And then once you get to the top 5%, they make you much better. 1% really make you better. And the top 1.1%, it feels like miracles are happening. And so I really hope we can help people in a way that gets rid of having to deal with that bottom 50 or even bottom 75% where they don't really make you better just because you don't have access to anything else. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw a post to that same effect on X, and I really like your feed. I encourage anybody that isn't following Andrew Herr bio, that's AndrewHerrbio, on X. It's a good account to follow, and he posts a lot of good things about AI and food and metabolic health and the likes. Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, so that's my, my general take is I want to make sure that people are getting good care, but behavior change will still be the stick in the mud. And so what I hope AI does is helps people find the thing that's easier for them. Like, hey, I want you to lose weight, keep lean muscle, keep muscle mass on. I want you to have better metabolic health. And if, one strategy works for you, but not the other guy, and another strategy works for the other guy, the other woman, not for you, that's fine. I want this level of customization. And so if we do it right, my hope is that AI will then also allow for much finer customization, because when you run a study and there's the average of 100 people's results and it works, well, 30 or 40 of those people probably didn't do much for or even hurt them. So can we figure out how to truly customize? And that's going to be incumbent on collecting the right data and then using it to run experiments. So I encourage in health in general, but my hope is that AI allows people to do this more easily. Think of every change you make as an experiment. Did it work? Didn't it work? And then use that to design the next experiment. So my real hope is that AI helps us run experiments to help find not only what works physiologically, but what works emotionally, psychologically. And that if we get the right data points, I think we can start to get there. That's what I'm really excited about in terms of the broader health space. To help people take control of their health, because the system isn't working. There are people who are doing phenomenal things, but in general, I think we all kind of know now that the system isn't working.
So you mentioned that post that you talked about with 25% of the so-called experts actually making things worse, and I think you might be being generous with that statistic. But I was wondering if you have any thoughts on how a layperson, just an individual trying to make their life better, their health better, are there any techniques that you found that are helpful in navigating all of this AI landscape and becoming better at curating the information that you're actually going to follow versus accidentally following some of those 25% that are going to set you back?
It's actually the same method, I believe, as how do you know if you're with a really good doctor or a physical therapist? And the answer is, somebody asked me recently, like, okay, but how do I find a top 0.1% person? I said, well, the only heuristic that I'm aware of, and this applies to AI too, is like a physical therapist is easier because often they can do this in this middle of a session. Do they ask you to do something and see if it made it better? Do they run little experiments? Are they running tests and saying, oh, okay, that actually made you feel worse. Okay, that probably means there's something else going on. And in my experience, you're going to get tools to try that can be high impact in the first visit with almost any top 0.1% person. And so now let's go over to AI. If it's giving you recommendations that you can try and test and hopefully don't have a huge cost, either expense or risk, test it and see if it's working. And working could mean weight loss. Working could mean your energy levels feel better. A lot of people with metabolic health problems, something that's making your energy levels better probably means you're metabolically a little cleaner that day. So I think running experiments, something that gives you experiments that are things you can evaluate in a relatively short time frame. I got to tell you, if somebody tells you to take a supplement and it might help you 30 years from now, like, I don't know what to do with that. Usually I think it's probably not going to be that helpful unless it also changes some really important surrogate markers in your blood or something like that. But I want experiments to run soon that make me feel better. If there's something you do for 2 weeks in a row and you feel better nearly every day of those 2 weeks, it probably is good for you long term. Now, that formulation is true because it's not always true. There are things that can make you feel better and your labs get a little bit worse. It's pretty rare, but it also that, 2 weeks means like, well, if I took a drug one day, I'd feel good, but I feel bad the next day. Well, okay. So 2 weeks, if you do something for 2 weeks and feel better most of those days, it's probably a good idea for the long term. And if you add lab work to it, then you're really cooking with gas.
I love that answer. I think a lot of us in the X world of there's a lot of N=1 experimenters, and I think that if you combine intelligent experimentation and you use your brains to figure out who the people are that are maybe doing that at a higher level, and I would think of someone like you as someone in that position because you've got expertise, and then obviously you went through a lot to develop these two apps. I would actually love to know how much N=1 experimentation went into figuring out, how to avoid jet lag and how to basically make an app that you're charging money for. And I have no doubt that it's a great value at this point. But when you are developing that app, you want to make a product that is going to work for at least a good number of the people that use it. So how did you get to those recommendations where you felt comfortable taking the unveiling the product and saying, hey, this is what we've got?
Yeah. So with the FlyKitt jet lag product, the actual truth of the matter is that I got it right the first time. And I've actually this is a story, basically I had never thought about jet lag. A client who I was coaching came to me as a business executive. He said, hey, we have this problem. We land in Korea. It's 4 p.m. There's a big dinner that night, and they want to negotiate the next morning at 7 a.m. They're using jet lag as a negotiating tool. And he was leaving in 2 days, so I had to get him something the next day. So I put together this plan. But the other answer is I'd been experimenting with the tools that went into that plan for at least 5 years. And so, on one hand, the answer is, it's one of those moments in life when you wonder if you almost channeled something versus I don't know how smart I am, but it just all came to me at once. But the tools in particular and the ability and the knowledge that went into reading studies and understanding why some studies probably didn't make sense and the research wasn't that good and others made sense. And knowing that, for example, if you split dose omega-3s, meaning you take them throughout the day, it can allow people to perform better under sleep deprivation. And the really, I think, vastly underappreciated role of polyphenols, supplements, which are, some people call these antioxidants, but that's not really how they work. They actually upregulate the body's natural protective mechanisms. So I'd say the answer is somewhere between got it right the first time and 5 years of intensive experimentation.
How long were you using the protocol in its more cruder form? Were you doing a lot of traveling yourself? Were you trying?
Yeah, I was using variants of this in the run up, and I'm always testing the next version. So I'm always testing something. I've got a new program for managing the inflammation from flights with people who are very, very sensitive that I'm starting to feel pretty good about where we are with it, but it needs a few more tweaks. But again, I am constantly experimenting on myself. Why? Because I want to feel good. Yeah, I was joking. It's like total hedonism, except I want to feel good tomorrow. Hedonism to feel good right now and feel terrible tomorrow. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to feel good now and tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. Do you have anything else planned? Any new developments for either of the products that you have out now, or anything down the road in the future?
We did just launch a domestic product. So most people think of jet lag going to Europe or Asia, but the flight inflammation, this pressure change induced effects on your body are still really powerful, even for a 2-hour flight. And so we just launched what we call FlyKitt Domestic. It's a much cheaper. This is $29 for a round trip and gives you that supplement protection along with a little gentle circadian nudge and energy boost in ways that work really well. And then we are thinking about the next version, which would be a drink mix that you would use to feel a lot better when you fly if you're really susceptible to inflammation, especially the gut issues. So that I'm really excited about. Pretty far down the road on a mixture of a drink mix and supplements to protect the gut when you're flying for those people who get bloated, constipation, things like that.
Um, let's see, going even beyond your app, do you have any words of wisdom for people that are doing a lot of flying, particularly international, that, in addition to going to flykit.com and learning whatever you can there, any other things that maybe you weren't able to incorporate in an app that would help somebody that is doing that kind of traveling?
A friend of mine once made a comment that I will come back to here, which is you have to treat yourself more like when you're at home on the road. Meaning, if you're on the road, you're just like, well, I'm traveling, so I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to try to eat. Like, you have to remember that your routine at home is there for a reason. And when you're on the road, actually, it's almost more impactful to disrupt your routine because of these flying issues and the stress and potentially sleep disruption. So I think one thing is especially exercise. Like, hey, get to the gym, even if it's just 20 minutes, even if you don't have time to go to the gym, push-ups and sit-ups, planks, whatever it is you could do in your hotel room, no problem, I think is really worth it. If you like burpees, go for burpees, like whatever you can do that gets your heart rate up, your muscles exercise, get them releasing those myokines that are anti-inflammatory and make you feel good. And that will really help keep your energy levels boosted and really help keeping you feel good. And then the other trick is, hey, look, you don't have to, but when in doubt, go a little lower carb and you're probably going to do a little bit better, all other things being equal. Some people do really well on carbs and they really know how their body's tuned and they eat, carbs before workouts to get that good push. Look, if you're that person, then you know what you're doing already. But if you're just there and you don't really have a choice, or you're really not as yet at that level and you're on the way to it, we tend to recommend to go a little bit lower carb.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to trying out the FlyKitt Foodie app, and I'm definitely it'll help me get past just buying burger patties at a fast food restaurant when I'm in a desperate situation. I know how to at a good restaurant. I know how to order and get something like a good steak without too much extra stuff on it, maybe some green vegetables or something. But I would like a little more diversity than just burger patties when I'm in a desperate situation. I want to give you a chance, Andrew, to add anything else before we go. But before we do that, I want to just invite all our listeners. We've got nearly 500 people listening right now, and I know more people will listen to the recording on the YouTube channel, the iFix Hearts YouTube channel. Dr. Ovadia asked me to share this link. Anybody that is interested in getting a digital download for free of his book, Stay Off My Operating Table, just go to ifixhearts.com/livestream and you can get the digital download. It's a great book. I've read it more than once and I refer to it often. Our patients really seem to appreciate and get a lot out of it. So go to ifixhearts.com/livestream. If you want to learn more about FlyKitt, you want to cut down on your jet lag, improve all of the situations that go around flying and disrupted lifestyle due to travel, go to flykit.com. Check out the Foodie app. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap this up, Andrew?
No, we really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. The message I always leave people who are looking for general health is run experiments. Decide what you're going to track, do the thing, and if it helps, great. And if not, that's a frame. It's also a frame I found makes it easier psychologically because, hey, I'm not committing to doing this thing forever. And it's just an experiment. It's a week, it's 2 weeks. So give experiments a try and give that frame a try and see if it helps. And then you can decide at the end of it, hey, it was worth it to keep going. It's not worth it. But at least you know how these tools affect your body and brain. And I'm confident that will help set you up for the success you're looking for. And, God willing, we can all stay off that table.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about both your experience in all this work, your work with the military, and your work developing FlyKitt. Thanks a lot, and I hope to talk to you again sometime in the near future.
Thanks, Chris. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
All right, take care. Have a good one.